Hello and welcome. I am the Suit&Tie Dip&Chew Guy, and this is obviously not a dip or chew review. This is an installment of the Bubble Gum Diaries for people that have just arrived. They're going, what the hell? This is a playlist I started in the fall and then had to put on pause due to some shipping issues. So I've already done Dubble Bubble, and I've done Super Bubble, and I did Bazooka, which are the three first generation bubble gums that are still in national circulation. So I was about to move on to the second generation stuff, which is the stuff that came out in the mid to late 70s. Bubble Yum, Bubblicious, Hubba Bubba, etc. So I was going to do them, but then I realized the Dubble Bubble review I did as the first review of this series was the 1928 flavor. It was a product, it was in retro packaging, but it was actually a different product in the packaging. All right. Whereas the Bazooka review, the Bazooka was in retro packaging, but it was regular Bazooka gum, the same as what's in circulation normally. So before I head off onto the second generation stuff, I thought I would double back a little bit and cover what Dubble Bubble is like now, like the modern mixture, if you would. So this is a 1 pound bag, all right? There's about 72 pieces in this. About, they say. I have never actually counted. This retails in a Walmart near me usually about $2.48, something like that. Now, I put quite a number of pieces in my mouth. Due to supply problems, due to the world situation right now, I have been doing only 3 at a time. I usually do 5. For this review, I will only do 3 for the sake of being able to talk. So it's a pretty nice plastic bag. It's seamed all the way around. Okay, you got regular seaming here, and then it's double seamed at the bottom. All right, it is 1 pound. And that's why they say about 72 pieces, because this stuff is now made by the people that make Tootsie Roll, and it's basically a long tube of product that's getting cut. And sometimes the pieces vary very slightly how long they are. Thus, the package is packed to the weight amount. All right, so there could be 71 pieces, there could be 73 pieces, etc. All right, so then on the back you have nutritional information, ingredients up top, manufacturer's information, and branding, and the fact that it is a 1 pound bag. Now you will notice that it says America's Original. That is because that crown used to have Fleer in it. Fleer no longer makes this, and Fleer really doesn't exist anymore. There is a product line branded as Fleer. I forget who actually owns it, but Fleer is not its own entity any longer. So the manufacturer's information. Concord Confections, division of the Tootsie Roll LLC, Chicago, Illinois, USA, obviously. Concord Brands ULC, not quite sure what that is. Made in Canada from domestic and imported ingredients. So basically, it's made in Canada from American and Canadian ingredients. www.tootsie.com would be the website. Products sold by weight, as I just said, not volume. Contents tend to settle after packaging. It does have a, I guess, best if used by date. In this case, it is November of 2021. And then there's a lot number that I do not know the meaning of. Barcode, the RD, yeah, that thing. And the fact that it is peanut and nut free. So I'm going to open it up. It usually has a slight pull tab. They may have them on both sides, actually. Yeah, they do. It's very, very slight. I don't even know if you can see that. They have them both sides. I usually tear these halfway and leave it. So what you have in here is about 72 pieces in a twist wrap. All right. Now, Dubble Bubble does make two sizes of these twist wraps. There is a longer size. This is the shorter one. There is a longer one. I believe that is only available in the buckets. If you've ever seen like a 175 piece or 300 bucket, they do have them in short and long, the buckets. So if you're ever out buying a bucket for any reason, do keep in mind there are short and long variants to those. So that's what you got. All right. Now, and that's what you're looking at. It is, now this would be a piece of a long tube traveling down a conveyor belt and at some point being cut. The only thing I can think of with the pieces varying in size a little bit, they'll easily enough have the thing cutting at an even rate. I am guessing there is speed control on whatever's traveling the tube down the line while it's cutting, and sometimes the speeds vary very slightly. The other thing that varies with this is amount of flavor, whatever concoction they use to flavor this. And I say that for two reasons. Sometimes it's basically a very, very sugary product, number one, okay? Sometimes it is more sugary than others. That and the stuff does stain the tongue red. Depending on how much extra they've given that batch, your tongue will stain more than usual sometimes. So there is some quality control improvements that could be made. As for this, it's sort of a, well, you can see, it's not a perfectly round tube traveling down that line. And I don't know if you can see it here, but you can actually see where it's cut. In fact, now that I'm looking at it, they must have something cutting from above and below. All right, because there's a pinch there on it. So the stuff is a little bit, it's first generation. I mean, even if this isn't the 1928 flavor, it's still a first generation type. It's a little harder at first. Not to the extent of the Super Bubble or Bazooka, though. Nowhere close to that. So I'm going to throw in a couple more pieces here. I used to not like this stuff. I've gotten used to it, though. And now, I sort of prefer it. My usual bubble gum that I would eat would be, or chew, would be bubble gum. And I got it cheap enough. I got the double 10-pack for, I think I was getting them for, I still can get them for like $1.08, something like that. But I just fly through this stuff too fast. This, $2.50 versus $1.08, 72 pieces versus 10. And with both products, I'm still using 5 pieces at a time. So, do the math on that, right? So, once the bag's open, I don't open it all the way up because the more sealed it is, the better. Mind you, I don't know if this stuff goes bad. I don't know if it goes a little off even, because this doesn't stick around long enough here. So the flavor is a sugar bomb. I mean, it's extremely sweet. Keep that in mind. that could be a turnoff to some people. It gets soft fast. First generation, so it's a little harder at first. Nowhere close to the Super Bubble or the Bazooka. Definitely not the Bazooka. As far as the three of them go, Bazooka, Super Bubble, and Dubble Bubble, the Dubble Bubble flavor does last longer. Okay? Considerably. Like twice as long, I would estimate. And then it starts to toughen up. As soon as it starts toughening up again, it's basically done. Extremely sweet. It has a different feel in the mouth from like Bubblicious or Bubble Yum or something like that. I mean, not the part where it's hard at first. Even when it's soft, it has a different consistency to it. Blowing bubbles, I usually do not blow bubbles with this stuff. I'll tell you why. Because the product in the mouth even is sticky. Okay? You break one and it comes back on you, you could have an issue. Now, I don't know if anybody can even tell. I shave with a beard shaver at a 0, so I'm sort of a little rough at all times. Having this stuff blow back on me is an issue even with that small amount of facial hair. Will it blow bubbles? Yeah. Not nearly as well, though, as, let's say, Bubble Yum or Bubblicious or Hubba Bubba. It just doesn't. So, on the upside, it's cheap, especially when compared to second generation products. It's widely available. I mean, you basically can find this everywhere. All Walmarts nationwide, let me put it that way. It's good if you like sweet stuff. If you do not like sweet stuff, this is not what this is. Well, number one, you're probably not a big fan of bubblegum in general, but you definitely want to think twice about putting out money for this, because this is like the sweetest bubblegum there is, in my opinion. I'm looking for sugars here. The serving size is 1 piece. 1 piece has 10% of your daily intake of sugar in it. All right. I'm going to try blow bubble here without having some massive mishap, but the other thing about this with, as far as blowing bubbles, you sort of have to get it past the flavor release stage, or it just doesn't really work. See? In a few more minutes, it'll be better than that, but that where it landed on my chin there, in a few more minutes, that'll be a problem. So it's sort of like, do I even really want to bother? Do I need to do that? I don't have any like nervous like tick where I need to blow bubbles. Bubble Yum, yeah, I do it. Partly because Bubble Yum, in my opinion, is probably the best bubble gum to blow bubbles with. So I do that, but I'm able to control this stuff. You never know when the bubble's going to snap and come back. Never know. Bubble Yum, most bubbles I blow with Bubble Yum, I snap a hole in the back end of it and suck the bubble back in. Like, they never break, and I'm able to control this stuff. There is no control with that whatsoever. God forbid if you had like a beard or something. Okay, nothing's happening with it. Probably for a few more minutes, but I am not going to wait out until then. If you like sweet stuff, or you're short on cash and you don't feel like putting out $1 at a convenience store for a 5-pack of bubble gum, this stuff is more expensive than $1, but you get a whole lot more for the money. It's good, but it's very sweet. It's a good value deal. It's got some history behind it. And before I go, I know what I'm missing here. The difference between this and the 1928 flavor is that this is probably what everybody will be used to, number one. It doesn't have the wintergreen cinnamon aspect to the flavor. The 1928 flavor is the original flavoring. And at the time, bubblegum was heavily flavored with stuff like cloves and wintergreen. Cinnamon is what a lot of the cloves came off as. This does not have that at all. Every once in a while with this, I'll get, if I chew on this side for some reason, all the way at the back, I'll get a very, very faint wintergreen flavor aspect. Don't know why. It's always in the same spot in my mouth. But this does not stand out. This is what everybody will be familiar. The 1928 flavor, which I believe they are still selling at least online, was a standout, like, wow, this is different. So if go back and look at that review, maybe I'll link it at the end of this. And if you see that, you may want to try that because that's the recipe they were using in 1928. And it's the first bubblegum recipe, period. It has a very wintergreen flavor profile to it. Okay? So this doesn't have that, but it's got a very sweet, in my opinion, good bubblegum flavor. Just, bubblegum. I don't know what else to say. Okay? So this has been the review of Dubble Bubble, the modern recipe. I am the Suit&Tie Dip&ChewGuy. I do hope you all are well. Do take care of yourselves, and God bless.